Today on Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine, we're going to try to outwit a turkey. And we're going to lose.
Like I said, they're smarter than the average bird.
I was always wondering if you could dress up like a shrine clown and walk out there and they wouldn't flinch.
I've never tried it, but
there you go.
Might be something I need to try.
Yeah, really. It would be the total ambush. They'd never see it coming.
Yeah.
All of a sudden there's a clown in the woods and they relax.
Yeah.
Welcome to the most unusual hour in the entire broadcasting week of Sports Radio 92.9 The Ticket. Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine. We're just about to the end of spring turkey season, and as every hunter will tell you, turkeys are very hard to hunt. And as every non-hunter will ask, why? How can it be hard to hunt a bird that wanders into your backyard or forages right along the edge of the highway? They become so abundant they're almost a nuisance. So today, I'm going to try to sneak up on one. And later, we'll get a registered Maine guy to give us some tips on how to hunt them. Oh, and one more thing. I'm also going to try to get ticks on me. Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine is brought to you by Hammond Lumber, Dysarts, EBS, Doors Equipment, and Napa Auto Parts. We'll pick up the action just as soon as the theme music ends.
Today's show starts out the way many of my radio shows do. I start out the day thinking, what is by far the stupidest thing I could do today? I'm in Hollowell, at the base of a farm field, with the wood line and then Jamie's Pond wildlife management area below. Just above me, about 200 yards, there's a turkey, and he's gobbling. A lot. I'm walking towards the wood line on a parallel path to him. He's watching me and also walking towards the wood line because he's nervous. He should be. It's hunting season. I've always wondered why these things are so damn hard to shoot. Not being a turkey hunter myself, they come up under the bird feeder. They walk along the edge of the parking lot. You see them on the highway. How can these be so hard to hunt? But clearly they know it's turkey season. He's keeping pace. He's almost to the wood line. He's going to beat me there. I'm now actually within about 120 yards. Certainly couldn't get him with a bow, but how hard can it be to take this guy? But even though I'm not even walking directly towards him, he's heading into the woods. I've got actually two purposes. I'm going to play with the turkeys a little bit this morning, but this is more about ticks. The one thing I hear from turkey hunters that really drives them nuts is not the challenge of bagging one of these birds, it's the ticks that you get out here. Now I'm going to walk to the back of the edge of this field. I've got my white pants on, white shirt on, white socks on. I've got my pant legs tucked into my socks. My goal this morning is to actually get ticks. Is that nuts? That's the oven bird. Turkey's still gobbling back there like crazy. But he did go into the woods when I got to within about 120 yards. See, my theory is turkeys are smart. And they see a guy sneaking along the wood line with a bow or a shotgun, dressed in camo, trying not to be seen, and they're wary and they go away. But you see a guy in a business suit and tie walking around a parking lot. What do they care? I swear we're wearing the wrong camo. We should go in our Sunday finery and walk around like, I'm not interested in turkeys. But I know that's wrong. Oh, they got me. I get to the top of the ridge, crest the ridge, and just on the other side of the ridge, about 125 yards away, two other turkeys, both toms, immediately see me, take off, fly over the treetops, and gone. Buggers. They saw me before I saw them. I'm on the backside of the hill. There's power lines and a snowmobile trail that runs back here. Just doing a quick check. I got one. Big one. Got to be a dog tick. All right. My turkey hunt's come up empty, but so far I bagged one tick. Boy, he was a fast bugger. He was sprinting his way up my sock towards my pant leg. Must have just picked them up because I tick-checked only about 5 minutes ago. Funny thing is, I have been careful to walk in the middle of a mowed area that is normally a walking path up here that can be used for snowmobiles in the winter, but it is really smooth, no vegetation, so I didn't brush up against anything that I'm aware of. So he was just a clever tick. Oh, you little bugger. I got another one. Here, hold this for a second. See, I came armed. I brought forceps and a bottle. And I'm saving these for later. I'm going to have entomologist Jim Dill confirm for me what these are. I think they're dog ticks. Okay, I've returned to the crest of the hill. The farm is sprawled below me. I'm looking through the big field where the turkeys tend to hang out. And when I was here last time, there was like 9 hens around 2 toms. They never really did come out this morning except for that one tom that went into the woods. And since he went into the woods, and I know the turkeys are in there, by golly, that's where I'm going. Stumbled into a whole bunch of woodpeckers back here, and to my right, I can hear tom turkey gobbling again. There's an old field over here through the woods in this path. I knew it was here. I'm heading that way now. They may be out in the open. They may already know I'm here. Probably do. Wow. It's kind of like the mother lode of birding back here. There's a hairy woodpecker. There's a meow from a yellow-bellied sapsucker. Ovenbird is going off down the path. Black and white warbler continues, a different one, just around to the right here. Turkeys were around here somewhere. Turkeys are still calling in the woods, really behind me at this point, heading back towards the farm. So I wouldn't call it a successful turkey hunt. I saw 3, got within shooting distance of none, picked up 2 ticks, both dog ticks so far. I got to do a tick check when I get back to the room. The tick check to end all tick checks.
We're hunting turkeys and ticks this morning on Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine. I'm into the woods to see how close I can get to a turkey and learn for myself how hard they are to hunt. I'm also experimenting to see how many ticks I pick up on my clothing while I'm out there. And later on the show, I'll see if repellents and insecticides work against them by spraying myself down and trying again. But up next, I'll turn to a professional for advice and see what he does to turkey hunt. This is Sports Radio 92.9, The Ticket. This is Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine on Sports Radio 92.9, The Ticket. We're hunting turkeys and ticks today. So far, I've tried to sneak up on several turkeys and never got close. But I did manage to have 2 ticks crawling up my pant leg. And I'll be going back into the woods later during this show to see if sprays will prevent that from happening again. A lot has occurred between the first Pilgrim Thanksgiving in 1621 and the reintroduction of turkeys to Maine in 1977. At one time, it had been the primary game bird in North America. But unregulated hunting and habitat loss drove the numbers dangerously low and wiped them out entirely over much of their range. Now it seems there's a turkey behind every bush. After 2 failed attempts at reintroduction, the Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife succeeded on a 3rd try to establish a population over its former range. In 1986, legal hunting resumed. There were 500 hunting permits issued that year, and only 9 turkeys were bagged. Steve Wood is a registered Maine guide. He can tell you why it's hard to hunt a natural butterball. But first, Steve, tell us about yourself.
I grew up in Sabattis, did 20 years in the Navy, and then came back and was a selectman for 9 years in Sabattis, and then I became a legislator, and I just moved to Greene just 2 months ago.
And how long have you been regretting being a legislator?
Actually, I'm having fun. I'm having fun. I got one more term that I can run for, and I will.
Yeah.
And who knows, I'll come back.
Yeah,
but
really. Take it from me. Term limits are overrated.
I think so.
Yeah. All right. Well, Steve, you're a registered Maine guide.
Yes, I am.
And you guide professionally. You've got clients.
Yes, I do. I do mainly black bear hunts, moose hunts, a few deer hunts, and a few turkey hunters.
Yeah, it's the turkeys I want to talk to you about. First of all, let's establish your credentials. Do you actually have a turkey in the freezer right now?
I don't.
Oh.
I really don't. I've been too busy up here.
I know,
and like I said, I just moved, and I've only gone out 2 days, and I've seen turkeys every day. Yeah, just they're really call shy this year. They hold up about 60 feet out, strut and everything, but they just won't come that extra 20 yards, and so they get sick of listening to me call them, and they walk off.
Yeah. Well, the reason I wanted to talk to you about turkey hunting is because for a non-turkey hunter, they see turkeys by the side of the highway all the time. They're in farm fields. They're wandering under people's bird feeders and backyards, and there's got to be a lot of listeners saying, how hard can these be to hunt?
They are very hard.
Yeah.
I mean, you move a little bit. Well, they say if a turkey could smell, we would never shoot a turkey. Their eyesight is phenomenal, and so movement is very key. Lack of movement is very key to actually being successful. Most of the time I use a blind. That way you can move around a little more. I use two hen decoys and a Jake decoy. I find that works the best for me. I use a box call, and I also have, when I'm with clients, actually I usually use a electronic call, because I set the bell or the transmitter out into the field, and that way if the client moves or anything, the less chance the turkey's going to actually see the client move, because that's not where the sound's coming from. The sound's coming from out in the field. Also, you can use a mouth call. I've never mastered that art of using a mouth call. It gags me, so I don't use a mouth call. But turkeys are very call shy this year. I've talked to other guides that are guiding people, and almost everybody says that they're extremely call shy, and you screw up a call, and they're gonna run the other direction. So
no kidding.
Yeah.
You think it was cold winter that did it to them, or what?
I think there are a fewer turkeys this year, but I think due to the increase of bobcats and fishers, I think they're feeding heavily on turkeys in the wintertime. Last year, right up behind my camp, I found 6 dead turkeys, and there was a lot of bobcat tracks around them, and there was even a lynx track. So
really, a lynx? Where was this?
Kingsbury, Maine.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, and so I believe the bobcats and the fishers are raking havoc on the turkeys in the wintertime, so there are fewer, but there's still quite a few.
Now, do you have to think like a turkey in order to bag one?
Sometimes I think you do. Yeah, because if you don't set your decoys out just right, they don't like it. They don't come in. We've hunted them for about 4 years without it being the lottery system, and I think the turkeys have gotten smarter.
Oh boy! And
if you don't call good, they don't come in. You don't have your decoy set up right, they don't come in. They see you move, they don't come in. So I think the odds are in their favor.
Well, apparently so, because people have a hard time hunting. I mean, that's the story I get from every hunter. These are not easy.
No, they're not.
No.
They are truly a trophy animal because they are so smart.
Now,
they really are.
When you set your decoys up, can you look at them from 30 yards back and say, "Ooh, I didn't get that right"?
I usually set them up about 20 yards out.
Yeah.
And I tell my clients 35 yards is probably your max shot I want you to take. After the 30 yards, whether a 12 gauge or even a 20 gauge, it's between 25 and 30 yards max, because the shot opens up more.
Yeah.
You got fewer BBs out there, and you don't get a cleaner kill as you do at 20 yards or 15 yards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, do you take bow hunters out too? Or?
I do. I haven't in the last couple of years, but I've been in the legislature,
right.
so that kind of put a burden on my availability.
Legislature sure is a time suck, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah. Sometimes, the turkeys ignore you sometimes.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah, I mean,
yep.
How do they know?
And if a Tom's got a couple hens with him, you can't
get them away. Yeah.
No, they like the real thing, and they just don't. They won't even pay attention to you. They might gobble once, twice at you, try to get you to come join them, but no, when they have the real thing, you forget it.
Yeah. Yep. Now, obviously, you hide. You've got a shelter, a blind to hide in.
Yep.
Is there any possibility of ever doing a walk and stalk on turkey hunting?
Actually, yes, I've done that.
Have you?
Yes.
Does it work?
It's hard.
Yeah.
You got to be very quiet.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be lower than, try to be, down below the grass line, or you try to find a knoll or something. Mm-hmm. If they're in the gully or whatever, it's a little easier. Sneak through the woods if you can. Mm-hmm. But it can be done. It's harder, a lot harder, but it can be done.
So you're taking something hard and making it even harder.
Yes.
Okay. Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine examines turkeys and ticks today. In a moment, I'll ask registered Maine guide Steve Wood the obvious questions. How hard can it be to hunt a bird that will come right into your backyard and chow down under the bird feeder? How is it they're so dumb all year, except during hunting season? Can they tell a hunter from a non-hunter? And still to come, I'll try to keep ticks off me when I go back out in the field to sneak up on some birds. This is Sports Radio 92.9, The Ticket. This is Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine. Saturday mornings at 9, Sunday mornings at 8 on Sports Radio 92.9, The Ticket. Today we're hunting turkeys while ticks are hunting me. Turkeys are exclusive to the New World. The ocellated wild turkey is an oddball species inhabiting a large portion of southern Mexico. All the familiar turkeys are the same species familiar to us, although even they are divided into 5 subspecies. There are distinctly different populations in Florida, in southern Texas along the Rio Grande, in southern Arizona and New Mexico, and in some of the mountain regions of the West. The eastern wild turkey is the most widely distributed. It was such an important food source for North Americans that they intentionally burned down small patches of forest, creating meadows and food resources for the birds. So people and turkeys have been interacting for a long time. Steve Wood is a registered Maine guide who helps get hunters on birds. He's my guest, and some questions are obvious. For those of us who don't hunt turkeys but see it all the time and see the turkeys all the time, and they don't seem to react to you when you're out there in a suit and tie or something, I'm wondering, can they tell the difference when you're wearing camo and carrying something versus a guy with a briefcase?
It seems that way.
It does, doesn't it?
It does seem that way. Yeah. They're like I said, they're smarter than the average bird.
I was always wondering if you could dress up like a shrine clown and walk out there and they wouldn't flinch.
I've never tried it, but
there you go.
Might be something I need to try.
Yeah, really. It would be the total ambush. They'd never see it coming.
Yeah.
All of a sudden there's a clown in the woods and they relax.
Yeah.
Do you think turkeys get smarter as they get older?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, definitely. Mm-hmm. A couple years ago, I was hunting a big tom that had dual beards. Mm-hmm. 2 beards, and he never came within 70 yards.
Jeez.
He was a big bird. He was probably 25 pounds, and he came out every day, 8:30. He'd come out into the field. He'd strut around. He had a path probably 10 by 3 feet wide, 10 feet long, and he wore the grass right down to nothing. Mm-hmm. And he just walked back and forth, strut and spit and gobble, and he just would not come. Yep. And tried to ambush him, and no, he'd come from the other side of the field.
To successfully guide, how much scouting do you have to do?
You have to do a lot.
Yeah, I would think.
I would, on an average, if I'm taking clients out, I'm out at least 4 nights a week. Scouting.
Geez. Yeah.
I'm treeing them at night. Mm-hmm. wait until just before dusk, and they go up into they roost. It's called roosting, not treeing, roosting.
Right, yeah.
You roost them at night, and then the next day you come and you try to be not too. You don't want to get too close to them.
Right.
About 100 yards or so, because their eyesight is phenomenal, and they might see you get out and put your decoy out in the field, and they just if they saw you put the decoy out, they are definitely not coming down to you. Anyways,
Yeah.
I've had turkeys fly right over me and land and keep right on going.
Do they tend to roost in the same trees all the time, or do they move around?
They tend to roost fairly close. They might not be in the exact same tree, but they usually have a route.
So you know basically where they are.
Yeah. Once you figure out they're within 3 or 4 different trees right in the same area. That say tonight, then tomorrow night they might be at a different field, and they roost. They got a set of oaks or pines that they're roosting in, and the next night they might be back into the other field. But no, they have a route that they feed on and stuff, and they know where the feed is, and they know which house, they know which bird feeder has been built or not.
So true.
Yep.
You ever do the owl call thing to stir it up?
Yep. I use the owl call at night to get them to find out just what tree they're roosting in. Usually you get out about 4 o'clock in the morning and you go out to set up your decoy, and you might give an owl call just to make sure they're still in the tree where you want them to be. Then just before daylight, you do a fly down call, and maybe I have a pair of wings that I use to kind of make flap on the ground, hit the brush and stuff. Makes it sound like they're flying down, and so hopefully they come to that. They see that hen decoy, and they come to it.
You got a guy who's a bear hunter, moose hunter, deer hunter. They're dressed in blaze orange. Turkey hunters dressed in camo. Do you lose track of your clients easily?
No.
No, okay. You got to keep. I mean, that's where it gets dangerous, is when you don't know who each other is.
I'm never more than 10, 15 feet from my client.
Okay. Yeah, you'd have to take special pains in situations like that to make sure they don't wander off in different directions.
Right.
Yep. So ticks. Every turkey hunter I talk to says, "Geez, it's getting worse."
Unbelievable ticks this year.
Yep.
I've already had Lyme disease this year.
You have?
Yes, I have.
You get the little circle spot there?
I sure did. And just finished taking the meds just last week, but feeling better. No, the ticks are just unbelievable this year.
Yeah.
I do use a spray.
Which one?
It's the Decron, little yellow and black can. Get it from LL Beans. That works really well. Whenever I spray my clothes with that, I've yet to have a tick on me.
No kidding.
But I didn't do that, and I had 12 ticks on me.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
And they were a mix of ticks, or was it deer ticks and or just dog ticks?
Mostly dog ticks.
Dogs, yeah.
But the deer ticks are very prevalent this year. That's what I got. I had one deer tick on me, and sure enough, I got Lyme's disease from that one. And I was raking my leaves on my lawn, and I had when I was done raking my leaves, I had over a dozen ticks on me just from raking my leaves, and so that's when I got the Lyme's disease. But just going out and scouting, I went out scouting 2 nights ago, and I had grabbed the wrong pants that I hadn't sprayed, because you spray your pants with this I think it's Decron.
Yeah. I don't know if it has the permethrin in it or not.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
And it's good for 6 washings. And I just grabbed the wrong pair of pants, and I went out scouting, and I had 4 ticks on me when I got back to my truck.
Jeez.
So they're really bad this year.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was because we had so much snow or what, but they are extremely bad this year.
Well, that does it. I'm going to go do a tick check right now. My guest has been Steve Wood, registered Maine guide, turkey hunter, tick sufferer. Ticks are becoming a big problem. Maine is lucky in that virtually nothing in the woods will kill you. We don't have grizzlies, alligators, or even poisonous snakes. And we didn't used to have ticks. But now we do, and it seems to be getting worse daily. Lyme disease is now a big part of our outdoor conversation. As you heard on the show just a couple of weeks ago, you really do have to take precautions these days. Tuck in your socks, do tick checks religiously, and use repellents and insecticides to keep them off. Okay, good advice. I'll be trying it in a moment. Earlier in this show, I went out on the field without spraying my clothing. I picked up 2 dog ticks during a half-hour walk in some grass in central Maine. Coming up, I'll wear the same clothes, tuck in the socks, spray the legs down with permethrin, and walk the same path. How many ticks will I pick up this time? Stay tuned to Sports Radio 92.9 The Ticket. This is Sports Radio 92.9 The Ticket with Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine. You've probably seen the male turkey strutting his stuff in springtime, fanning his tail and looking self-important. The ritual begins when the turkeys are still gathered in wintering flocks. His head and neck are brightly colored in mating season, and in fact the color can change with the turkey's mood. The whiter the head and neck, the more excited he is. Soon, his job is done. Toms take no part in raising the chicks. In fact, within a few days of hatching, the youngsters are able to forage on their own, following mom around mostly for protection. There is safety in numbers, and multiple broods will band together, which is why flocks near roadside seem surprisingly big. Turkeys reduce the threat from predators by roosting in trees. But it takes at least 5 weeks before the poult is able to fly up there. Once they make it that far, the average lifespan of a turkey is 10 years. As this portion of the show begins, I'm walking out the back door of a farm in Hollowell. There are turkeys in the woods, and they often come out to strut in the field. I've got 2 experiments going on. How close can I get to these turkeys, and is there anything about my clothing or attitude that might convince them that I'm not a threat? And while I'm out here hunting turkeys with this microphone, will I pick up any ticks? It's about 6 a.m., sunny, a little cool, not very windy.
Day 2 of turkey and tick hunting. The cardinals are obviously awake first thing in the morning. Ooh, right behind me. Man, I have just stepped out the door and there's already turkeys in the woods right below me. Where is he? All right, Cardinal, I got it. Now shut up. There it is. That turkey is so close, I must be right on top of him. Yeah, he's just down the hill here. Were I a hunter, I couldn't shoot him because I can't even see him, and he's almost on top of me. Come back for this turkey later. I can see why the other cardinal was so vocal, because this one over here in the corner of the field is also vocal, and they're just having a duel to say, keep out of my territory. One behind the farm buildings, one over here by the field next to the stone wall. All right, same experiment as yesterday. I'm going to wander up the hill and see, first of all, do I see any turkeys and how close will they let me get? And second of all, am I going to pick up any ticks? The big difference today is I've sprayed down my pant legs with insecticide, permethrin, the kind of insecticide that's in Repel. It's not a repellent the way DEET is. This is recommended for use against ticks on clothing. You put it on your clothing, not yourself. And I just want to see if I can walk through the same tick-laden field, and will I get as many as I got yesterday, which was 2. Also, I think I'm going to try harder. I'm going to walk in thicker vegetation, off the beaten trail, and a little bit into the brush. I'm in a farm in central Maine. I've been here many times before. There's turkeys, there's ticks, part of a grand experiment I'm about to conduct. But here's what I'm looking at. I've just come out of the farm buildings, staring up at a field. This is a great field for various birds. It'll be full of bobolinks in about a week. There are Savannah sparrows back there. There's a woodcock that work the edges, which is always fun. So I'm looking up at this field. There's a windmill at the top. On the right side, there's a stone wall that marks the edge of the woods. And it's a relatively old stand of wood now. It's probably hasn't been harvested in 50 years or better. Through that stone wall, there's some trails. I know there's one copse of an old orchard that's still somewhat open behind this initial stand of trees, and I'll hit back there later on. Turkeys often frequent back there. As I look up at the field, there's actually a windmill at the top of the hill. Behind the windmill, it dips back down. There's a set of power lines that run back there, which is good habitat. And not only do I get turkeys up there, but I find dust bats pretty regularly. If I went through that section of woods beyond the power lines and way down the hill, I'd end up at Jamie's Pond Wildlife Management Area. In fact, every now and then I can hear the geese calling all the way from here, and I'm probably a mile away. So that's the setting. Farm in central Maine. Looking up the hill that I'm about to traipse through. There are ticks in there. The experiment begins. Okay, you just can't make this stuff up. I've gone halfway up the hill. I'm now looked behind me, back towards the buildings, the edge of the parking lot where I just walked up, and that turkey that was gobbling in the woods is following me. Don't think he knows I'm standing here at the edge of the field, though. Let's sneak up. Okay, he's behind a little bend in the hill. I'm not going to move. Now, you got to understand, I'm not in camo. I'm in white. A white turtleneck, white pants, so I can find ticks easier. So I'm not camouflaged. And I want to see if he can tolerate me since I don't look dangerous. I look stupid. Okay, I don't currently see him. Oh, but I sure hear him. Here's the oven bird from yesterday, same exact place he was before. Okay. I am almost right on top of him and I don't see him. Where did he go? There's a compost pile down here that it sounds like he's behind. Maybe why I don't see him. Chickadees doing their "Hey Sweetie" love song. Flicker. "Hey Sweetie" is the black-capped chickadee love song. You know the chickadee thing? That's a call. That's where they talk to each other. But when they're singing out and they're horny, that's a love song right there. Where did that turkey go? Sounds like back down deep in the woods. All right, mystery partly solved. That turkey that I saw on the edge of the field has just gone into the woods and kept on trucking. He was not slow getting a little deeper into the woods on this end. So let's just see what we can find in here. Yesterday I did up the field and then down through the woods. I think today we'll do up through the woods and down through the field. Okay, he's back there somewhere. The big question at the moment is, if I were a turkey hunter, even though I know this bird is close by and gobbling, would I even get a look? Because they're that clever. Blue jays are moving in. And there's the turkey. Don't see him though. Jeez, he's close. Okay, this is the non-hunter's question. Why is it so hard to hunt things you can see so easily? Deer. How often do we hit them with a car? And yet you can go all season and not get your deer yet. Turkeys. They come to the feeder. They're along the sides of the highways. How hard can they be to hunt? And yet when you actually try as a non-hunter to sneak into the woods and tiptoe up on one, can it be done? So far, the answer is no. So far, based on my rudimentary display of skill, if I were a hunter in the prehistoric age, I would be a vegetarian. Turkey hasn't gone off in a while. He may have just kept on going to that field that's beyond this grove. Turn to that field is right up ahead. I think I'll hit that.
So far, no ticks, but one very close turkey. Can I get closer? And did the insecticide spray in my pant legs work? It'll take me a moment to get over to the next field, so refresh your coffee and I'll meet you over there. Meanwhile, another turkey bite to chew on. The domestic turkey is different from the wild turkey, but it was not always that way. In the early 1500s, the Spanish brought turkeys to Europe. The turkey and the Muscovy duck are the only domesticated fowl originating in the New World. But the original domesticated turkeys were likely transported from Mexico. That subspecies featured white tail tips. Unlike the wild turkeys with which we're familiar today, our wild turkeys have brown tail tips. Centuries later, the differences remain. Though you can't tell once it's plucked and roasted at 350 degrees, your domestic turkey did not go through life with brown tail tips. Indeed, most domestic turkeys are now completely white because the brown coloration has been completely bred out of them for cosmetic reasons. You see, white pin feathers are less visible on a fully dressed bird. Oh, the stuff you learn during Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine on Sports Radio 92.9 The Ticket. Welcome back to Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine. We're talking turkeys and ticks today. As this last portion of the show begins, I'm in the woods, trying to get close to a turkey that has been gobbling outside my window since sunup. I just want to see why these birds are so hard to hunt. And perhaps more importantly, I did this the previous morning and picked up 2 ticks along the way. Today, I've sprayed permethrin on my pants, an insecticide that is supposed to keep them off. So I'm following the same route as yesterday and we'll see if I get any. As we begin, I'm close to a turkey that is staying just out of sight. And I'm a little quiet.
I'm coming up on the edge of the field. This is the small one, the grove. It's sort of an old overgrown orchard behind the first grove of trees. That's goldfinches going nuts. Jeez. Rent a room. Yeah, I had a feeling if I walked through this field, I would pick up a little bugger. Here's one tick for the morning. He'd already walked up through the poison zone. Probably wasn't happy about it. Let's do a complete tick check here. No, so far he's the only one. Oh my word. What died here? It was a rough winter on turkeys, and you can see why the flock is a little thinner this year, because there's the remnants of one right here. Big feathers all over the place. I have a feeling that turkey is on to me, and really, how many turkey hunters go into the woods talking into a microphone? Yeah, that works. All right, I've checked this grove out. An interesting place, but except for the one tick and the turkey parts, not much happening back here. In the meantime, the turkeys went silent, or turkey in this case, the gobbler, and he's just gone off again, and he's still in the copse of trees behind me, meaning from the direction I came, down slightly to the left. So once again, we're in sneak-up mode. Like this is going to work. I have returned to the parking lot. That one gobbler is still way in the woods now. He crossed originally from behind the building, through the edge of the parking lot that I'm standing in right now, through the gap of the stone wall into the woods. He's been gobbling back there and disappearing deeper and deeper into it. Not a chance in God's earth that I'm going to find that bird. So I think I'll go to breakfast.
So, sure enough, I couldn't get close to her turkey, even when I could hear it calling nearby. Every time we'd be out in the open, he'd get to the tree line before I did. Now, I'm starting to understand why these birds are so hard to hunt. As for ticks, I got 2 on me the first day while just walking in the field, no preparations. On the second day, I sprayed my pants with permethrin, the insecticide that's supposed to keep them off. While I was out there, I got one anyway. And here's the worst part. When I got back to my room, I did a tick check and found none. But I took the extra precaution of leaving my clothes in the bathtub. Sure enough, when I checked in the pile after breakfast, there was another one, slowly climbing its way out of the tub. Bugger. I didn't even see him, and the insecticide didn't keep him off. I share these woods with another turkey hunter. Lou Haskell goes back there too. Lou is long retired, but hasn't slowed down a step since he worked for Inland Fisheries and Wildlife years ago. You might recognize the name. I forget, Lou, what was it you used to do for the department back then?
I was the recreational safety coordinator covering Cumberland County and other counties as well.
How old do you have to be before you're considered an old-timer?
Well, I'm 83, and I consider myself young at heart.
Young buck, so probably 90 or better as an old-timer. When did you start seeing ticks while out turkey hunting?
About 12 to 15 years ago, in the early 2000s.
Mm-hmm. Did you have any dealings with them back then? Did you use any old remedies to keep them off?
No, I didn't. I just used to pick them off if they got on me. Mm-hmm. Didn't have any real problems.
Yeah, back then we didn't really even worry about it. You know, just growing up in the area, I didn't even know ticks until not that long ago. New remedies. When you go out turkey hunting now, what do you do?
Well, I use a little bug spray, a little DEET.
Yep.
And I, this year, had 4 ticks on me for the 2 weeks that I hunted. Mm-hmm. Only found 4. Last year, I found 8 or 10 every day.
Jeez. I hope that means this is an easier tick season, but people tell me it's not.
I'm hearing there are more ticks this year, but I think that the bug spray helped.
Yep. Yeah, I've tried bug spray, and I've had mixed results so far. I'm going to have to try it again. So did you actually get your turkey yet this year?
I got my turkey. I tagged out, took 2 turkeys this year, one the first day and one the second Friday.
Yeah. What advice would you give somebody who's turkey hunting that they probably don't know about?
Well, the first thing is be mindful of the ticks. The second thing is, of course, safety. Be aware of other hunters that are out there because we're in camouflage primarily. I like to take an orange T-shirt or an orange cap along with me, and if somebody comes along, I like to just hold that up so they see where I'm at.
That's Lou Haskell. And that concludes my experiment with turkeys and ticks. Before we end today's show, I've got one other piece of unfinished business, something I promised to keep you informed about. Over the last 2 months, I've been tracking a bill in the legislature that would require the Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife to establish a marketing position and plan. LD 668 is a bill I sponsored at the request of George Smith, longtime advocate for sportsmen, now retired as executive director of the Sportsmen's Alliance of Maine, and nowadays a blogger and travel writer. Now, there are 3 things that can happen to a bill in committee. It can be voted ought to pass, it can be voted ought to pass as amended, it can be voted ought not to pass. And if none of that is unanimous, there might be some debate in the full legislature later. Of those 3 options, the committee chose the 4th, carryover.
And that takes us to LD 668, an act to market Maine hunting and fishing opportunities. I believe the other day we left this, that The presiding officers would be approached. I approached the majority leader, and he said that he didn't see any problem with it being held over. Representative Shaw?
I also approached the Speaker's office, who said that it wouldn't be a problem if we voted unanimously to carry this one over to next year. It wouldn't be a problem with them either. So I'd make a motion to carry this over to next year.
All those in favor of the motion to carry this over? All those opposed? So vote.
That means the bill will get new consideration next year when the legislature reconvenes for the short session in January. Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine is brought to you by Hammond Lumber, Dysarts, EBS, Doors Equipment, and Napa Auto Parts. All previous shows are archived on the web at 929theticket.com. The next news show comes Saturday morning at 9 or Sunday morning at 8 next weekend. This is Sports Radio 929 The Ticket.